Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube channel and podcast. And we are back with another match reaction. It's been a couple of games where we've skipped the last match reactions. No fault of our own, but we are back after a memorable win against Man United at Old Trafford. Decker, I'm just going to dive straight into it. Do you know what it is? I think ourselves on this channel, when we're doing podcasts, we're pretty honest fans. And when we're going to games, we're very honest about it. When we saw that team sheet, I'm not going to lie, mate, I had no confidence whatsoever. And how wrong was I? I'm not sure how you felt, mate.
No, I felt exactly the same, mate. I thought concerned is the wrong word, because I'm not complaining about the lineup. We discussed this on Monday, right, in our podcast, that there's going to be severe changes and all that type of stuff. But when you've seen it, man for man going down the list, I was like, oh, hey, we've got about 10 fullbacks on here. And I was starting to get I was a bit worried. I just thought, we all know Eddie Howe set them up right and all the rest. But there's a lot of players out there haven't had much game time.
Mm-hmm.
There's players that haven't been fit enough to play for a long time as well. So I was concerned. Yes, I was concerned.
Yeah, I was the same as you. And when you see the likes of Matt Ritchie, who hasn't played a game for God knows how long, then you've got Emil Kraft, who's been injured what feels like 5 seasons, having his first start and was it 200 and odd days he posted today. Then, like you mentioned, the fullbacks as well. You had Target starting at centre midfield randomly. Apparently, that's where he was supposed to be starting, just to the left of the centre. Then obviously you had Lewis Hall at left back, you had Livramento at right back. It was just fullbacks all over the shop. It was Alan Pardew's wet dream, that.
Yeah, it was. I thought that as well, yeah it was.
He would have been loving it. But the start lineup, obviously, Dubravka comes in to goal. Then, like I said, Livramento at right back. You got Emil Kraft and Paul Dummett. Centre-back partnership. Nobody would ever expect that coming. Then Lewis Hall starting on left back. Longstaff, 150th cap, and wore the captain's armband as well. Matt Target, centre midfield, apparently. Obviously, we'll get on to Matt Target very soon.
Yeah.
Joe Willock, another start for him as well. Like I mentioned, Matt Ritchie, Gordon leading the line, and Joe Linton on the left-hand side. So it was a bit of a mismatch, really, wasn't it? It was just any player that was fit was getting a game against Man United.
Yeah, I thought, I think we discussed that on Monday, and I thought we got maybe other than Kraft, I will say, the back five pretty spot on. We're kind of debated that Dubravka might start. And then we had that, I thought maybe Lascelles and Dummett would be the pairing. But he went for such a change. I mean, it just, to be honest, what the reason that what concerned me was, as well as Man United's lineup looked strong. Like there was players in there, and I thought, you're going against players that haven't played very much football. And for all I know, Man United's going through a bad run. There was still, to me, looked like quality on paper. But I think I said this on Monday, that we all knew there was going to be players playing on Wednesday that we need to get minutes. So, for example, Willock, great that he's getting extra minutes, right? It's great to see Hall getting some game time. Livramento on the right side, great for him to get some minutes as well. So there were some positives in the lineup, but also just a few concerns of, okay, you're playing Kraft and Dummett centre half here, or this is going to be a long night. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But how wrong was that?
I'll let you check your mic connection, Digger, just when I take over this little bit, because I think your mic's dropped a little bit. I think it's picking up your laptop. So I think the game starts, and do you know what it is? Matt Target goes down injured, Target goes down injured, and you're thinking, God, like, can our luck get any worse? Like, just players dropping like flies. Obviously, we've got a hospital ward attached to the training ground at the minute. We've got that many injuries. And you're thinking, it's mounting up here. It really is. And you're thinking, this is just how I look at this moment in time, especially with 2 huge games coming up against Arsenal on Saturday, then Dortmund the week after as well. And you're thinking, what else can go wrong? But having said that, it's worked in our favour, Decker, because Miggy comes on, then I think that shuffles things around as well in regards to line-up as well. And it's at that point we start to dominate.
Yeah, well, I hope my mic's better. You'll better tell us. But listen, the result probably doesn't happen in the way it did if Miggy doesn't come on the field, right? Because Almiron not only injects a totally different pace and everything that he has, but the run he makes for the goal, he has a massive hand in the second goal. So there's that ironically, Target getting injured. Maybe we should give Target man of the match, actually, because his contribution probably helped us win the game. So and you imagine Howe's reaction, right? When Target goes down, he's probably thinking, oh no, like another player going down that he probably wanted to get minutes. He's then having to rely on a player that he probably didn't want to bring on at all, really, for being honest. So, you've had to reshuffle the pack, and so early on in the game, how much they thought, oh man. And we've said this before, right? Where getting an early goal or something like that changes the game plan in a way that kind of maybe shuffled ours a little bit, because you have to make a change so early. So
yeah, I'm with you, and I think that change, obviously, like I said, it forces a couple of shuffles around there. But I think, yes, even despite that, I think I don't think it would have been an absolute mauling of what it turned out to be, a Newcastle dominant performance. I think we may have still went on to win that game. Whether or not they would have went to penalties, we don't know. But obviously, the rival of Miggy just completely flips that game. It really does, and you're thinking that we have that luxury now. And do you know what it is? We're talking about how many injuries that we'll have, but we're still managed to field an okay side out against Man United. And to be fair, the lads that came in absolutely battered their players. And we're talking about big players as well. You had the likes of Mason Mount, Casemiro playing as well, Martial, obviously had the starting goalkeeper on there as well. And you're thinking, these lads have came in out of the cold, most of them, for Newcastle, and they've shown that they can do a job as well. And I think we just have to highlight the likes of the fullbacks, like Livramento and Lewis Hall haven't had much game time between them throughout the season. But for them to come in and put that sort of performance on and basically make Eddie Howe think, hang on a second, like, do I have a headache as we go further into the season? Yeah, it's a good headache for Eddie Howe to have. But for those two, and there's been a lot of, I wouldn't say negativity, but a lot of criticism that Newcastle invested for the future rather than looking at the first team in the summer. Obviously, we'll bring the two fullbacks in and spend a lot of money on the fullbacks. But you can see why we spent a lot of money on those two lads, because they could be the future when it comes to international football for us.
Well, I think without any doubt. I mean, there's so much quality there, isn't there? I mean, I suppose Dan Burn, there's a few people I think are way, way, way too critical of Dan Burn right now. Let us reference something now. I've been critical in regards to maybe he's not the athletic style fullback that I like, right? But he is such a key part of that back 4/5 with the goalkeeper. But it's really refreshing, isn't it, to see a player. He played some lovely little balls into Gordon early on. Nothing came of it, but there were really clever balls, smart balls. And you're right, them fullbacks are going to be, our future, and and perhaps England, but certainly our future. There's no doubt about that. I think something that really impressed me is I've said this for a while, right? When you make 5, 6, 7 changes, you tend to find your entire structure goes as a team because they've played with each other, stuff like that. What I love about us, and you can see this, it's this sort of culture, it's this sort of strategy throughout the entire squad, is that everybody knows exactly what their job is, no matter what 11 will play. It's exactly the same performance and the same style of performance. And I think that's what's really, really impressed me yesterday. Was how you've managed to make so many changes and they didn't really on the eye know any difference, which I thought was amazing.
Before we get on to the opener goal, which Miggy grabs, what I want to highlight is how obviously Casemiro comes in. I think he was suspended the last game, or maybe injured. I don't know. He just was missing the last game or so. He comes in, and the performance that he has is strange because you had him and old Hannibal Lecter there in midfield. And do you know what it is? Either of those could have seen red. Either of them. Old Hannibal, he made about 5 challenges, which could have easily been yellow cards. He made the first one, which he got a yellow card for, he got a caution for. Then he made one about a minute later. And I'm thinking, you could be gone, yeah. And even Gary Neville highlighted it on commentary as well, saying he's very lucky to stay on the field, yeah. Then there was a couple of more challenges that came after that as well, and the referee was letting them go. But I thought that how we showcased ourselves in midfield was outstanding compared to how Man U set up.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think you got Casemiro, with so much experience, right? I'm not saying he's been getting a bit complaints about him in terms of like this season not being the same player, but I think Hannibal. Just to reference a few things about him. So I remember when Man United were struggling, which, let's be fair, they have struggled for a while. When he came on, he was putting himself about as a bit of a busybody, leaving challenges in. And they actually loved that. Gary Neville, I remember commenting saying, at least he cares, at least he's fiery, he's trying. But in that way, on the environment on last night, he could have seen red early doors, like as you say. And I definitely thought, was it on Longstaff, the challenge that was over the ball?
It's a second, yeah.
That is a second yellow card. And I'm not one of these that normally believes that just because you've got a yellow card, the first time round, the next time you make a tackle, it's a second. I'm not one of them people that says that, but that was a bad tackle. And
it was.
I thought he was very lucky to stay on the field. But also to reference what you said, Joe Linton there, when I can't remember who it was, I think it was the left back went past him and he just pulled him back. He just stopped him in his tracks and pulled him back. He didn't get booked, and I was like, wow, you've getting lucky there, Joe, to be fair. So maybe the referees trying to let things go, but there was no VAR on that night. VAR wasn't on. And I don't know, I think if VAR had have been on, I think they may have went back on the Hannibal one on Longstaff and sent him off, to be honest.
Yeah, it could have arguably been, I know it'd be harsh, but it could have arguably been a straight red, really, because like you said, he's straight over the ball and it's straight on Longstaff's ankle. I think it was like he hits.
Yeah, there's two angles. One angle looks horrendous, if I'm honest, and there was another one where he just gets lucky enough that he hasn't quite got caught Longstaff as much, but it's still very dangerous and very... Very random, though, isn't it? Really, when you think you've just been yellow carded, like you've just been booked, don't flying like that, But
he was absolutely up a height, mate. He was like a kid at a kid's party that just absolutely downed a bag full of Skittles, man. He was like up a height all night, and I was really shocked that he didn't go off at half time. He actually made it out with the second half as well, which I was really shocked at. And like I said, Gary Neville was even more surprised than everybody else. I was watching that one. But let's get on to the goal decker. So Livramento just nicks that. He nicks it. He just pickpockets a right back. Then the confidence that he has and the drive that he has just to pick that ball up and just keep on running. So he nicks the ball. He just takes it past two players. Then he even has the time to look up to see where Miggy's running. And he's got the option of Gordon on the right-hand side, I believe, as well. The Miggy coming in on the left. And the weight of that pass is perfect. Absolutely perfect, mate. Then Miggy, do you know what it is? We'll have to give Miggy credit as well, because Miggy's playing on the left-hand side when normally we'll see him on the right. If I had him to land in that position, then still score. And it's a great goal from Miggy as well. It's an absolute fantastic finish. For him to do that as well, we've got to give credit to Miggy. And overall, that team goal is just, I know it's only two players involved, but we've got to highlight Gordon, how he takes, I think it's Harry Maguire that he takes off to the right as well. He's gone. So that opens that bit of space up. For Miggy to run into. It's a great goal, mate. Absolute counter-attacking football at its best, that.
It really is, and I think there's a few times, not that I knew much of Livramento before he came, of course, but some of the highlights that I had seen of him, I do remember, I'm sure it was Chelsea that played, and the highlights that I had seen of him was more of how good he is in the final third, like carrying the ball, putting great crosses in. And to be fair, he's almost like a winger. Do you know what I mean? He's like a winger, but obviously very, very solid defensively. My favourite part of that move was, I know he carries the ball really, really well, how he didn't pass to Gordon, because Gordon makes a good run, and a lot of players would just go, yep, you've made a run, I'll play it. He knew, actually, that's not really the right ball, and absolutely right. I mean, so much credit goes to Miggy to keep that run going, to give him a secondary option, and his finish is absolutely superb. And I'm actually really happy, because we'll come on the second goal where Miggy's involved again. It gives, I hope it gives how food for thought that, you know, it's actually our play armor on the right all the time, but he can do something really good on the left as well. So it was a wonderful goal.
Because we're so used to Miggy cutting inside, aren't we? And he doesn't have the option to do that when he's on the left hand side, because I think we know that he doesn't have much of a right foot, but he's got one hell of a left foot, and obviously he normally sticks that to the keeper's right and to go to the keeper's left. He hasn't got a clue. Hasn't got an absolute clue what's going on. And I think once we go 1-0 up, I'm thinking the way Man U have set up here and the way they're performing so far, this game is ours. As soon as we went 1-0 up, I was unbelievably confident. Not long after that, we get the second, mate. So it's Hall who gets the second goal. Talk me through that one, because obviously you want to give credit to Miggy for this one as well.
Yeah, again, real quality and intelligence in that moment. I mean, he picks up the ball and he's got his foot on it and he's waiting for something to happen. Now it's Willock who made, again, I need to credit Willock again here. The amount of times off the ball he was making tremendous runs, and then when he was receiving the ball, the amount of times he went down that left-hand side where Hall was just pumping it around the corner and it was Willock with none of it. But in this moment, that ball between the two players by Miggy is just brilliant, really brilliant. Now, from a defensive point of view, it's a bit schoolboyish, two players going to one player, he puts it through the middle of both of you. But
just digs it, doesn't he, over?
He does, yeah. And I've referenced this for a good few weeks now. The movement off the ball is what's impressing me from Newcastle, and that for us now is, of course, you've got to credit Mickey for making that pass, but the pass can't happen if Willock doesn't make the run. Willock's thinking off the ball, if I can run in here, I'm in. It almost breaks down because Willock gets tackled, kind of, but doesn't give up and then recycles the ball. And I mean, what a finish! I mean, what a finish! I mean, for a young kid, playing at Old Trafford, Newcastle fan, all the rest of it, hasn't played much football forward. My word! I mean, it's unsavable. It's unsavable because the keeper's quite sort of blocked by bodies.
There's loads. I've never seen a ball land so sweetly for a player to strike.
Yeah, aye.
It was just like you're just screaming, hit it. Because you couldn't have got it any perfect. And the connection that he makes as well. And it just tucked to the keeper's left as well, on the inside of the post there. Yeah. And an absolute dreamland at that point, mate.
Amazing. Honestly, amazing. It was a fabulous, a great move, exactly what we deserved. But again, Miggy, as we've mentioned from the start, target going off brings on him. He scored a goal and then had a massive, massive hand in creating the second. So, massive credit to him. But I was so pleased for Hall, because it's a big moment for him to get his chance. And he I mean, we're not expecting him to score a goal like that every week, but can I just add? But still, it's fabulous for him to do so. And I also reference Hall a bit here. I'm not a big Anthony fan, right? I think he's a right show pony and he's a waste of money.
I'm with you, mate. I think he's absolutely shite, yeah.
Yeah. And there was a moment where Man United played the ball. It was before that second goal, so I am going back a bit, sorry. But they played a long ball over, and he took it down really well, actually. The ball went dead high, and he controlled it within a second, and Hall took it straight off him. And you heard our fans oh, hey, because he had won it. And I just thought from that moment, I thought, you're going to have him this game, no problem. And I thought Hall was excellent. And for a young kid, he's only 19, he seems to play with so much experience. He looks like he's composed and experienced. He looks like he's so much older in his performance, I think, when I watch him play.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And after that, it was all Newcastle. It really was. And I think we contained it really well because what given Man United as much as the ball that absolutely wanted, just yours have it. And I thought at times, I think Joe Linton switched on thinking, Hannibal's on a yellow card. Yeah, let's try and hold the ball a little bit and see if he makes a challenge. And I think Joe Linton lost it once on the edge of his own box where he was trying to do that. But you could understand why he was trying to do that as gamesmanship, just basically trying to get a player sent off and make him the challenge. That's what he was trying to do. But I think Hannibal calmed down a little bit at this point than he was just standing off the players. But to go in at half-time, 2-0 up at Old Trafford, you're thinking, man, you've got to come out the second half and play a hell of a lot better than what they just had in that first half, or make some changes to improve the way they're playing. And they did do that. They made the change, and second half, I would probably say they had the majority of the ball in the first 10, 15 minutes. They really did. And it was, I wouldn't say it was backs against the wall for us, far from it. But Dubravka made a decent save off Mason Mount. And I can't really remember anything off the top of my head, but they had a lot of the ball. And they did get in the final third quite a fair bit in the first 15 minutes of that second half.
You're right in what you say. Like you would expect that Man United are going to have, more to show, more to give, a bit of an arse kicking at half time. And I think without doubt they did that when they came out the second half. I think Neville referenced it as well. I know he can be a bit biased, but I think that they came out with a bit of a fire up them. Do you know what I mean? And you could see that, right? And I wouldn't say we were hanging on, but I thought, I texted some of my mates in the chat. I said, we just need to get through the first 10 minutes of the second half. I remember at half time because they said, what do you think the second half's going to be like? I says, if we can get through this first 10 minutes, we'll be fine. And we just had to weather that little bit of a storm. And we did.
That's all it is. Decker just weathering the storm, and we know for fine well that Eddie Howe set his team up very well to do that. We can sit and contain that, we really can, and invite pressure on at times, but it's very rarely that will crumble. And for the likes of Emil Kraft and Paul Dummett to be a centre backs and still not crumble is still an absolute surprise to me. And do you know what it is? Well, I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm still at the point now where, yes, I'm confident in this team, but probably the starting 11 of the team, and then a couple off the bench. But when the likes of Kraft's coming in and Paul Dummett's coming in and Matt Ritchie's coming in, I still have a little bit of doubt. But at the end of the game, I'm sat here thinking, why did I ever doubt them? Because they come in and they've not just done a job, but done a job very well. Yeah,
I mean, listen, I'm absolutely over the moon, right? But even I'm still a bit shocked that Kraft and Dummett can handle, that kind of game, right? And It shocked me. It did shock me. And Eddie Howe, for me, he can't turn water into wine. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's unbelievable. But massive credit to them as well. Of course, I'm giving Howe credit, but I also think that them lads deserve unbelievable credit. But to reference a couple of things, even during that little storm that they were doing, I absolutely love Joe Linton and Willock in their moments of when it looked like there was a few switches happened, and I thought, oh God, there's a chance here. Willock or Joe Linton was straight back into position to help the fullback out or help the centre half out and stuff. And I think you look at Man United's performance, and I think I didn't like how at the end of the game, and I'll fast forward for a second, how it was always, Man United weren't very good, and Man United weren't this, Man United weren't that. Yeah. And I'm thinking, but you look at us right now. Eddie Howe sets him up with the game plan. It is up to the players to see that plan through, And you can see, can't you, that every single player is really trying their heart out. They're chasing every ball and they're running off the ball. And you look at Man United, it's a complete opposite. Mason Mount didn't break a sweat. And that's the difference. The difference is quality-wise, Kraft and Dummett and Richie haven't played in a while. But it's the work rate is unmatched at times. Like, it's unmatched, and I really felt off the ball defensively. Willock and Joe Linton and Longstaff as well were tucking in dangerous moments in the game where Man United could have gotten back in a bit. We just put out the fires where we could, So it was great.
And that's two players that returned from injury as well. We'll have to remember that. Joe Linton, I'm not sure if Joe Linton's ever fit, to be honest with you, because he always seems that he's one of the players that's fighting through injury and still performs. Got like 9s out of 10s every single week. And the week after, he's still there, wants to play football as well. And that's something which I absolutely adore about Joe Linton. And we can't ignore how long Joe Willock has been sidelined for as well. He's been out for a long, long time. And it's only obviously the game against Wolves where he has a fair few minutes as well. Then, obviously, Man U, that result against Man U, he
was outstanding last night.
Outstanding. He really was. And I think people don't realise how good of a player Joe Willock is until you see him again. He's that person where he just disappears a little bit. But when he's injured, you think, because of the circumstances and the situation we'll find ourselves in a moment where you look at the centre midfield, you've got Bruno, Joe Linton, Longstaff, and Tonali. Obviously, we know the issues with Tonali, but we've had 4 decent players in there as well. When Joe Willock's missing, you think, it's fine. But when he comes back, you think, Jesus, he is a player, an absolute player. He really is. But yes, like we said, we'll contain the pressure. All that it took was that one break.
Unbelievable, one break.
Then Joe Willock, what a finish from Willock as well.
It's as good as it gets, It's as good as it gets, that finish. And I think Gordon as well does very, very well, which I didn't notice in the time of the goal, if I'm honest, until the replay. But there was a replay face on to the goal, and you see Gordon almost shepherd Maguire out the way. It was a bit like if you have a free kick and the lad leans against the wall. It was almost like Gordon just moved him out the way.
Yeah.
But my word, what a finish! Like, it was tremendous. Like,
he couldn't have hit that any better and placed that any better.
No, it was wonderful. It was a better goal. It really was, but it reminds us of the goal he scored against Chelsea. I remember we won 1-0, and it was last season. It was where he arrives onto the ball and has that sort of whip, And it was a wonderful goal, and he really deserved that. And I think what shocked me a little bit with him is for how long he's been out, how quickly he's up to speed.
Yeah,
he had a handful of minutes against Dortmund where I didn't even expect him to be on the bench, let alone get on. And then, as you say, Wolves, he had more minutes, but he was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And I definitely,
like I said, he's such a player. Absolutely, he really is. And I think the team's full of them at the minute. That guy really is. The full of players are full of confidence. Every single one of them is oozing confidence, and that's coming from, like I said, I keep saying, Joe Willock has been injured, and he comes back, and he still has that confidence that he just left, obviously, before you got the injury. And do you know what it is? I know we've mentioned him a couple of times on this recording there, but Gary Neville he normally is quite biased, but as the game went on, I thought he was enjoying watching Newcastle play football.
Well, he said it, mate. I said it. Yeah.
So there was at one point where it was not long after the Willock goal, if I remember right, where Longstaff absolutely smashes it, and I think that's hit top corner, and Neville just makes this noise. He goes, like that.
Yeah,
like he was enjoying watching that as much as what we were.
Yeah, he did. It was the Neville orgasm, wasn't it? He's done it before.
Yeah.
Man, what a strike that was, wasn't it?
I know.
Hey, honestly, that would have.
I thought that was a fourth. Like,
3-0 is enough, but if I'd have went in, that would have been unbelievable. Like, but
it was,
yeah.
mate.
Yeah,
It was. But I think just to wrap it up, there's a couple of other things which I want to mention. Okay, you have to give credit to every single one of those players that came in from the cold. They really have, and for them to put on that performance and basically be knocking on Eddie Howe's door, we can't ignore that. A lot of them will be knocking on the door, and there's been a lot of comments about Livramento. Should Livramento be starting and Trippier shift out to the left back? I'm not even going to get into that conversation because to move one of your best players from natural position just not happening for me. It really isn't. No, so Tripp starts at right back all day long. We've got enough choices at left back. We don't need to start pissing about with that. I want to mention Longstaff once again. Like, do you know what it is? For what he's been through and as a player, to under Rafa, he was on that trajectory where you think everybody thought he was going. Then Bruce comes in. Then he just drops massively to the point where he wanted out, really. And he's admitted that. He just wasn't enjoying his football. To see him now, like I said, his 150th appearance for the club, wearing the captain's armband, and every single week he puts in an absolute performance, mate. And a lot of the time it goes under the radar because he does do a lot of the dirty work. But I think each week he improves his game, and there's something else which Longstaff delivers. And yes, he's a local lad. We're going to love him a hell of a lot more just because of that. But I think every single team in football needs somebody like Sean Longstaff, and we're unbelievably lucky to have him at this club.
Yeah, well, I think, listen, I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong, because I'm wrong all the time. But but I said that I had said before that it was when Longstaff was out, and I think a lot of people were saying, is Bruno not playing well because Longstaff's not there? And I was like, nah, it's not that. I was the first to sort of criticise. However, when he came back in, we've never been better, right? We've went on this run of, take the Dortmund game out of it. We've been on this run of just win after win after win after win. And I agree that Longstaff, you get that 7 to 9 out of 10 performance every single week. And without any shadow of a doubt, his fitness has never been in question in terms of getting around the field. 100 miles an hour, run all day for you, touch every blade of grass all night for you.
He's always been top of that list, yeah.
Always. But you can definitely see his intelligence in terms of his movement off the ball, and I keep going back to movement off the ball, but that's what impresses us so much. And Longstaff, we've all talked about the Longstaff run, what we keep saying all the time. But I absolutely agree that when Longstaff's in the team, that balance across the three in midfield is night and day compared to when he's not there. And then the other thing I'll say as well is he's ever present. Like, all that you think of all the players that Howe doesn't want to risk. Longstaff, I bet he goes, you'll still get through that 90 for us.
You'll be all right.
He'll be all right, and he does every single time. And it's also special that, and this comes with its own pressures, that he's a local lad and he's one of us type of thing. That comes with its own pressure, but it is extra special that he's part of this clique and getting so much credibility from that. And there's even talk of England call-ups. Why is he not in the England squad? Which is absolutely outstanding, It really, really is.
100%. Were you shocked to see that the lads making appearances to the first team lads? So the likes of Trips comes on, Bruno comes on, Wilson comes on. I'm not going to lie, I was shocked.
Yes, so when you said you wanted to wrap it up, I was going to quickly interrupt and say, well, I want to talk about that because I remember I was sitting watching it going, what on earth are you doing? Because, the game's wrapped up and you're bringing on Bruno and certainly Wilson, I thought, God, if something happens to him. But then I have to laugh at the you probably read it as well, the article where it says why the Chronicle guy asked him, the reporter, why have you done that? And he went, well, it's like a training session for them to come on and get some. Now that just made us laugh. And I agree with the comment that the reporter said. He's probably not meaning it as a dig, but you're playing at Old Trafford, which we've really, really struggled at in the past for years and years and years. And you're in a position to bring people on because it's like a training session. It's just, to me, it's just amazing.
It's like you said, obviously the comment wasn't meant in a malicious way.
No, it wasn't. No.
You understand where he's coming from. It's all that it is was just minutes in the legs. That's all that was. Yeah. For two big games coming up, and to be in that position where we can do that. A few goals up against Manchester United at Old Trafford in such a big game as well, and it's phenomenal, mate. And do you know what it is? I'm continuously just pinching myself that we are in this position because it's mental. I don't think I'm ever going to get used to it.
No, I think for us, I think that I will say we've discussed about expectation from some of the fans and whatever, right? But I think you have to remember, like, we've beat Paris Saint-Germain 4-1, right? Now, in isolation, you know, to me, it doesn't get any better than that, right? But last night doesn't get any better. Do you know what I mean? Like, to me, that winning feeling and that buzz just never, it doesn't leave us. You know what I mean? And I think, and I'm sure our bestie said this before, and I'm very much of this as well. I still can't believe we are this good, and I still keep thinking, but it'll not always be like this. We'll go back to being like the shit Newcastle, but we're not going to. Do you know what I mean? And it's being sustained. Success is a strong word, but like successful performances, if you want to say, like it's just been unbelievable. And I did say a couple of weeks ago that we need to really embrace and enjoy this moment because it really hasn't been better, if we're being honest.
It hasn't, mate.
So,
it hasn't. It hasn't. And do you know what it is? We're absolutely loving every second of it. Like, obviously, the enjoyment that we get doing these sort of things and just reliving these moments and talking about how well the lads are doing at the minute. It's far from the days where we're sat slagging everybody off.
Well, mate, like,
handful of years back.
You know, we would have been chatting about being knocked out in the first round against Blackburn away and saying how, you know, it's this and it's that, and it's such a shift. It's just such a shift. You know, it really is.
It is. Thanks everybody that has joined us and watched this one live on. Well, not live because we're not live. I'm lying. Everybody that has joined.
Well, we are at the moment. Technically,
we are. Yeah, we are. Anybody that's joined us on YouTube to watch this one, and all those that listen back on the audio as well. Thanks very much. If you're watching the video on YouTube, just like the video. It's all we ask for. Become a subscriber if you want to do that. If you want to give an extra bit back, it is just $2.99 a month to become a member. You get early access. You get extra content, and you do get access to the Telegram group as well. If you listen to the audio, just give us a 5-star rating. All that we'll ask for from your side. Plenty more stuff coming. We have the match preview, which was just recorded earlier for the Arsenal game coming up. Obviously, we've got Dortmund coming up next week as well. We'll have the Always Smiling Faces podcast back on Monday. It seems like we're non-stop at the moment. But like I said, we're enjoying every single second of it. Thanks very much, Dagger. See you next time.
We're won you now.
Get it.